Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and welcome to my new series, in which I'm going to be going over the entire history of specific anime and manga characters from a variety of different series. In this video, we are going to be going over the entire life and history of Toji Fushiguro inside of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. But before we get into all of that, I just have to inform you all that if you don't hit that subscribe button and like the video within the next 10 seconds, Gege Akutame himself will personally kill off your favorite character. I was informed via satellite communications this morning that he has decided to make this decision himself. But enough of that, let's get into the entire history of Toji Fushiguro. So Toji was born Toji Zenin as a member of the Zenin family. His childhood is mostly shrouded in mystery, with only a few mentions throughout the series so far of his early years, so I will do my best to piece it together for all of you. Sometime during his childhood, at a currently unknown date, but most likely during his birth, Toji was given a heavenly restriction that completely wiped out the curse energy that he possessed. It was said by Yuki later in the series that he was the only known person to have ever lowered their curse energy to zero. In the early years, Toji decided to see what all this fuss was about to do with a young Satoru Gojo and his 6 eyes technique, in which he was astonished to find Gojo was the only person who ever noticed his presence while standing directly behind him. While still in the Zenin family, at an early age he was often abused and mistreated, being thrown into rooms filled with curses as punishment and having to fight his way out to survive. This abuse from the Zenin family resulted in Toji leaving the clan at probably a similar age to when Maki also decided to leave the Zenin family. After leaving the clan, Toji decided to take the name Sorcerer Killer and was often hired by different groups of people to assassinate a variety of targets. During his time as an assassin, he met an unknown woman who he may have married or just dated, but he ended up having a child with her, this being the duogonist of the series, Megumi Fushiguro. After the Zenin family found out the news that Toji had a child, a meeting was set up between Naobito and Toji to discuss selling Megumi to the Zenin clan, in which it was finalized that once Megumi's curse energy manifested, he would be sold to the clan for a sum around 100 to 1 billion yen, which correlates to the 8 to 10 figure number set in the series. From the point of Toji selling Megumi to the start of the Gojo past arc is still completely unknown, but back in 2006, Toji met Shui Kong, who was a member of the Time Vessel Association. There he decides to accept a job to assassinate the Star Plasma vessel. It then skips to Toji meeting Kong again and informing the group that he had used all of their money to place a bounty on Riko Mani, better known as the Star Plasma vessel. The reasoning behind this was to wear down both Gojo and Geto before he finally made his move. With Toji creating a deadline on the bounty, it gave the group the feeling that after the time ran out, they would relax and not expect another attack. Kong listens to what Toji has to say, then decides to leave, but not before asking Toji how his son Megumi was doing. Sadly, by this point, Toji had already completely forgotten about the young Megumi and was completely focused on money, responding with the question, asking Shui Kong who is that person. The day comes when Riko is to merge with Master Tengen and complete the ritual, but Toji finally makes his move and sneak attacks Gojo, wounding him through the body with a blade. Geto then uses one of his curses to swallow Toji. Instead of being caught though, Toji effortlessly cuts himself free using one of his many cursed weapons. Gojo then faces off against Toji in a one-on-one fight. Before they start fighting, Gojo tells Toji that the bounty was taken down, thinking that Toji was just another assassin after the money. This leads to the revelation that Toji was the mastermind behind the entire bounty scheme, and that he only ever used the bounty to weaken his opponents. The fight starts with Toji managing to evade all of Gojo's attacks and maneuver out of Gojo's line of sight, with Gojo being unable to sense his target due to his heavenly restriction. He clears the battlefield to gain his sight on Toji back, but this backfires instantly with Fushiguro's release of a swarm of insects to block Gojo's view. Using his lack of sight, Toji attacks from his blind spot, stabbing him through the throat with the inverted Spear of Heaven, a weapon designed to be able to nullify curse techniques once it makes contact. He then slashes him all over and finally stabs him with a small knife, leaving him on the ground, seemingly dead, bleeding out. After thinking that he has taken care of Gojo, he uses the footprints and his enhanced senses to track down the Star Plasma vessel and the others. Instantly after arriving, and before Geto notices anyone was there, Toji shoots Riko in the head. When an extremely shocked Geto asks Toji how he is even here, Toji says that he has killed Gojo, and Geto instantly begins to engage Toji. While fighting, Toji starts explaining how he was able to remain invisible at the college and how he fights, but Geto doesn't really pay much attention, instead wants to know how he found him and Riko, and what happened happened to Misato. Toji replies saying that he took her out, but isn't completely sure if she died or is still alive. Gedo manages to take advantage of the fight momentarily and does his best to cripple the god Toji by trying to steal the curse that stores Toji's weapons. Instead of Gedo succeeding, Toji's uncanny control of his curse took over and it refused to merge with Gedo. Toji defeats each of Gedo's strongest curses and slashes him across the chest, then kicks him to the ground and tells him that their abilities were useless in stopping someone with no powers, and that he would have died if it wasn't for all of the curses that he stored. He then remembers his son's name randomly and why he named him Megami. Toji then proceeds to take Riko's body to the Time Vessel Association's base to be verified. After meeting with Sonodo, the representative for the association, he heads off with his employer and then leaves once the association transfers the money to their account. Waiting outside the association base, Toji is shocked to find Gojo, who has used reversed curse technique to heal himself, though he was still delirious and in a manic state. Gojo explains how he managed to figure out his technique and that Toji almost killing him helped master his abilities and further get stronger. Toji then takes on Gojo, thinking that he is probably delirious with how manic he was acting. But this time, it's different. Toji is easily overwhelmed by the reborn Gojo. While trying to quickly analyze Gojo's new different abilities to formulate a counterattack, he gets completely obliterated by Gojo's ability that he created by combining Gojo's Hollow Blue and Hollow Red into a completely new attack called Hollow Purple, resulting in a fatally wounded Toji. This attack made Toji realize something. His whole mental ideal of "I don't work for free" had slipped away and he had realized that he had changed, wanting admiration for crushing the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world. At that point, he had already lost. Not realizing he hadn't put aside such petty pride, he thought he had chosen the path to be proud of neither myself nor others. As he slowly starts to fade away, Gojo asks if Toji had anything to say for his last words, in which Toji decides to say nope. Then remembering his child Megami, who will never know his father, said to his killer, "In 2 or 3 years my kid will be sold off to the Zenin family. Do as you please." He then dies. This causes Gojo to track down Megami, hoping to tell him about his father. Flash forward to 2018 and the Shibuya incident arc, Ogami uses her Science technique to transform her grandson into Toji so that he can gain his abilities and aid in her battle. After Toji defeats Ino, the personality suddenly gets taken over by Toji. This shocks Ogami, and Toji explains that copying his body was a huge mistake because his body is different. It's special, and if his orders were to attack and kill sorcerers, then he would start off by killing Ogami. He attacks her, and because Ogami's technique continues after her death, and the fact that her grandson lacked the curse energy to take control back, meant Toji remained active, hungering for fight until his body became unable to continue or is destroyed. Somehow Toji manages to find Dagon's domain and enters through Megami's incomplete domain expansion while Megami and the rest of the group were trying to leave through it. Toji then snatches Playful Cloud from Maki and gets ready to engage Dagon, completely ignoring Naobita and focusing on the curse ahead. Toji manages to take out all of Dagon's Shikigami and beat him to a pulp using pure physical power. Toji then rubs the ends of Playful Cloud together to create extremely sharp points. When Dagon tries to escape from Toji, Naobito blocks Dagon from leaving and gives Toji the chance to pierce Dagon. Dagon tries to proclaim that it isn't over, but Toji doesn't lay up and continues to stab Dagon until he is exorcised. After Dagon passes, Toji turns towards Megami, then grabs and drags him to another location so that they could fight. Megami uses his escape rabbit technique to try and cover Toji and slow him down, but Toji easily dashes past the rabbits and attacks him. Megami manages to dodge and dashes quickly down an alley in which Toji gives chase. After Toji attacks and misses, he falls into the trap that Megami had created. Megami tries to stab Toji, but Toji easily manages to get away from Megami. All of a sudden, Toji seemed to have regained his senses from complete bloodlust and asks for Megami's name, in which Megami tells him Megami Fushiguro. Toji, realizing that the young man standing before him is his son, is glad to know that he hasn't taken the name of the Zenin family. He then stabs himself in the head, destroying Ogami's grandson and ending the fight between father and son. So I hope you all enjoyed my video on the entire life of Toji Fushiguro. If you guys are new around here and want to see more content just like this, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and also leave a like on the video if you do enjoy my content, as it really helps out with the algorithm. Also, if you want to see another entire life of, then make sure to drop a comment down below with who you'd like to see. But for now, it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.